since it was Toland's mission, I think Toland should.
All right.
Toland is full of inspiration. He doesn't use it that much, but you guys are more than welcome to get something. Great.
Okay, well, we went to the ethereal plains and ran across a big, was it a black dragon or silver dragon? It was a dragon.
It was a shadow dragon.
Shadow dragon, yeah. And then we ended up running a quest for the dragon to get one of his scales from TX. And in order for us to be able to get the dragon's assistance and to get us back into the overworld, I guess you would say. Then, of course, TX, as tricky as he always is,
a bum.
we ended up killing Toland's love of his life.
Oh.
Or Toland did.
And yeah, Toland killed the love of his life. Then we made it over, or we came up with a way to get us all back to the overworld without actually have to have a final battle by using banishment on ourselves. And yeah, which was pretty cool. And what was the other one? The magic doorway, or whatever that doorway spell was.
Yeah, Neris used banishment on himself and Dorlak to get out of the tower or whatever, and then Tiny Marble Cakes took Toland and used Dimension Door to get out.
Oh.
You used an interesting, you found an interesting way to use the spell banishment, which is normally for enemies. If you cast banishment on yourselves, what happens is once the concentration stops on the banishment, if you're not from the native plane that you're in, you go back to the plane that you're from. Right. So, being that the characters are from the prime material plane and they were actually in the Shadowfell, when they use banishment and the concentration breaks on the banishment, they return to the prime material plane.
Cool.
So they used it. They used it in a very, very interesting way that normally you wouldn't use that spell, because it's normally an offensive spell to use against enemies to get rid of them for a couple of turns. But you guys.
Neris' idea, by the way.
Yeah, it was Neris' idea.
Yeah, it was Neris. It was all Neris did everything.
Wow. I'm pretty
yeah.
Is that how I end up losing my limbs and stuff?
Yeah, that's how
the
Shadow Dragon has your limbs now.
Oh, boy.
That's okay. We got side quests for you.
So
you get your limbs back.
Yeah, the purpose of you actually going to this horrible Shadowfell plane and getting into TX's tower in the first place was that the ethereal stream to your gnomish village of Thistledor was blocked off. That was slowly choking your town to death, and you couldn't even escape the town because you need the water from the ethereal stream to go in and out of the woods. You were able to, the Shadow Dragon was compelled by TX because TX stole the Shadow Dragon's scale, thus trapping it under his service, and forced the Shadow Dragon was the one that was blocking the ethereal stream. So the Shadow Dragon, it doesn't speak actually; it communicates through psychic images, but it allowed the party to know that if they were to retrieve its scale, then it would release the ethereal stream. So the party went back into the tower. They went into the area, or that door that was originally blocked with Nihana, the Toland's love interest, remember, on the other side?
Yeah.
So when they went in there, they saw that it was Toland's evil brother, Warno, his elder brother that sold him into slavery. Really nasty guy. He was there, and he was holding her at a magical knife point. And he said, the only way you're going to save her is if you challenge me to, if we can fight off in single combat. Toland, of course, accepted, but Toland's wrath and bloodlust consumed him, and he did a fatal blow with the 9 Lives Stealer. It's a magical weapon that will destroy your soul and suck your soul into the weapon, thus making you unraisable. He had a chance to get to do a merciful death, but no, he wanted to use his 9 life stealer to end his brother's existence. And then of course, TX got the upper hand because it wasn't Toland's brother; it was Naihana in disguise.
Oh,
so
you
TX
shoulda known.
He pulled a Shakespearean twist on you.
Oh, wow.
But this is how TX operates. He's a villain with an intelligence of 22 and a wisdom of 4.
Toland's characters throughout history has been kind of dangerous. Didn't he kill his best friend in one of our other adventures? When we was in the desert. When we was in the desert.
Oh, you mean Olaf?
Yeah, Olaf.
I'm the one who finished him off? No.
I think you did, didn't you?
Well, you didn't have a choice at that time.
No, I know.
No, this time I gave
messing.
Toland's the character a clear choice. I said,
Oh.
you may allow this. You've already won this battle. You can just let your enemy fall to the ground, or you can drive it home and drive the rapier straight through his heart, thus ending his existence. Because that would be an automatic critical hit. Your opponent is no longer fighting back.
Right.
He chose the automatic critical hit, thus ending the soul of his of the girl that he was asked to rescue. So
Wow.
unfortunately,
That
no,
sucks.
you were able to save the gnomish town, but unfortunately, you were not able to save any of the gnomes that were imprisoned, because it turns out the phase spiders were all gnomes, transformed gnomes. You didn't realize that, and you kind of went in and killed all the phase spiders.
This was kind of a dark story, wasn't it?
Absolutely, it was. But TX did warn you the minute you stepped in that you would probably be the one to be killing Naihana. He did say that nothing here is what it seems. And TX vows revenge because in the end, when you returned to Shadow Scale and the ethereal stream started flowing again, the tower, no longer stable in this kind of transit between planes, could no longer hold itself together and exploded. With TX still inside, but you can probably imagine that TX, being the powerful and very intelligent wizard he is, has probably had an escape plan. So as you guys escaped, he vows revenge.
But not with a psycho crazy battle. It was whatever his one personality that came in that seemed quite genuine.
Yes.
His happy-go-lucky version.
So at the end, the TX that you guys were talking to originally actually was Toland's brother. Presumably had died in the explosion. The real TX appeared briefly. He was an old, decrepit gnome. Ugly, hideous. Certainly not as handsome as he had been brainwashing all the people to say he was.
Right. I believe we will go into town and report what had happened to.
What do you tell
and
Mayor Dolaberg happened to his daughter? Because that's the first thing he asks. Yeah, what happened to Naihana? Does she still live? Does she still live?
Unfortunately, it was too late for us to get to her. We couldn't do anything to save her.
Oh, and he collapses in grief.
I know she was your daughter, she was your family, but the rest of the town is your family also. So you have to. They all have lost loved ones too. Unfortunately, we couldn't save anyone that entered the tower, but we have made it so that no one else can be taken.
I suppose you did your best. And, he says, but you did save our town. He says,
we just got here too late, unfortunately.
He says, we don't have much right now, but if you would like, we can try to offer you a reward from the town's coffers.
That won't be necessary. You've lost enough.
Dorlak, for rejecting his reward and being an honorable knight, you can get inspiration.
Thank you.
I just told the mayor, of course, I'm not going to take anything. This is my hometown. I'm glad that I tried to help my hometown as I could.
He says, and what of TX? What happened to that horrible man?
That horrible man, he got away. I'm sure I may end up having to deal with him later, but it just is above my pay grade at this time.
Oh.
But I don't think he will be bothering our team for a while.
Oh, curses upon him.
But if you look, the stream is flowing again, and
Yes.
I will say I probably couldn't have done what I did without the help of these new strangers that came to our town. Now, once again, why are you guys here? It's kind of weird that you guys even heard of this place and came here before.
Well, I would just like to add that if TX would happen to come back and you need us, send out a messenger to find us, and we would be more than glad to come back and take out TX again if we need to. And then to Tolan, we were sent here by the Moon Maidens of the Church of Saloon, and we are on a mission to find the chosen ones. And you were sent to us through a vision, and you are a chosen one. And we need your assistance to save this plane and others from the evil.
I'm a chosen one?
Now,
chosen one.
Tolan, this is actually historical knowledge. In the timeline of what has been happening in the Forgotten Realms. In the beginning of it, like whenever they have a new edition of D&D, they always have it open with some sort of big, massive event in the world, like the Time of Troubles, the Spell Plague. So when 5th edition opened, they had this big event. It was called the Second Sundering. What it was is 4th edition completely wreaked havoc on the Forgotten Realms. It changed the whole architecture. It collapsed the planes. It caused magic to stop functioning. And 5th edition was like, oh, let's retcon that. Let's retcon that. So 5th edition was where pieces of land started falling from the sky, and it went back to how the Forgotten Realms looked originally. It was trying to erase what had happened during 4th edition and during the Spell Plague. So one of the major things that happened during this time was that the deities, the major deities of the Pantheon, started granting a portion of their powers to mortals, and they were called the Chosen Ones. So there was many of the deities had chosen. Like for instance, there was a chosen of Torm, chosen of Helm. There was actually some of the deities that had died and came back also got some chosen, like Baal, who died in 2nd edition, came back and he had some chosen as well. Interestingly, Saloon did not have any chosen during this time, and this was something that happened about 10 years ago. The purpose of the Chosen was very vague in terms of the lore of 5th edition. The Chosen just kind of came and went on adventures and did the bidding of their gods, but it wasn't for any specific purpose. It wasn't like the Time of Troubles when the gods had to walk the earth themselves for a specific reason. There's no real specific reason why this happened, but this is something that happened, approximately 5 or 10 years ago. But there have not been any chosen of the deities, known chosen of the deities recently for several years. It was thought that this part of history was over. So to be a chosen of Saloon and to have several chosen of Saloon happen at once is very unusual. Especially because Saloon didn't participate during this period of time when all the deities had sent some of their powers and divulged some of their essence into mortals. So that's what so you know that this is probably what they're referring to, why you would be called the chosen of Saloon.
Okay. I mean, it's kind of odd that I mean, I know I'm skilled and all, but I didn't realize that it was the chosen one. I mean, obviously I've seen some of the skills that you guys have, but it's like we're putting together a pretty ragtag bunch here, it seems.
And usually the chosen of a deity would be someone devout to that deity. You can see how Dorlak would be somebody who could be chosen, but you don't see how the rest of you could be chosen. Be kind of strange, because since you're not devotees of the goddess.
Yeah, we're putting together one of the strongest groups that we can put together, because it's going to take all of us and all of our special abilities to tackle this.
There is a specific reason why you have to find these chosen. Remember, there is a book called the Historiophage, and there's something happening with that book. There's a really dark, powerful energy that this book has catastrophic power. The book is somehow altering the consciousness of the realms, and the book is infecting other books. And when other books get infected with the Historiophage, their stories get erased. And the party, well, not this party, but previously, they had been sending adventurers to the Historiophage, and using the Tear of Saloon, they're able to enter these stories. And once the Historiophage, furthermore, starts asking for specific objects, MacGuffins, inside these stories. When the adventurers retrieve these MacGuffins and pull it out of the story, it appears that the story rewrites itself and people start remembering these stories. So the Temple of Saloon was involved in this because they are the ones who had the Tear of Saloon.
Would you like to see the Tear of Saloon?
Sure, you're carrying it around with you?
Well, yeah, I don't think somebody can take it from us. So I pull out the Tear of Saloon and I go to hand it to him, and it jumps out of my hand into his and just starts swirling around.
It does indeed react to him. The Tear of Saloon appears to glow in the presence of the Chosen of Saloon.
Someone is just looking at it like mysteriously, like just now that is something. And he'll hand it back to Dorlak or to Tony Monkey, if one of them want to see it.
The amount of magical power inside that stone is just beyond measure. Unfortunately, you're not able to access or control it. It appears to have a will of its own. As if it had some sort of intelligence to it.
So I want to wrap it back up in a cloth and place it back into my satchel.
Well, since you guys did try to help me, I'll be willing to try to help you guys out. If there is this mission that you guys are upon.
Now, it's dangerous, and I can't guarantee that you'll come out alive. But I can guarantee you we will fight, and we will honor each other's deaths, and we will be there for one another, and we'll do everything that we can in our powers to protect each other.
Well, I'm sure if I'm there, there'll be a lot less dying on our end.
That's what I want to hear.
So you guys don't, as characters, you don't really know what had happened to prior adventures. You know that there was there was a story of There was a story of how Durnan, a very famous adventurer, proprietor of the Yawning portal, had been hiring adventurers using the Tier of Saloon to access the power of the historiophage. You heard these stories, but you don't know what had actually happened to those adventures, but you had heard that the adventures failed. And after they failed, the church, the House of the Moon, your church, had taken the tier back.
So, shall we begin this adventure and head on our way? We're going to need some of those potions to get us back out of here.
The Mayor Dolberg comes, he says, I've already prepared them. The minute the streams started flowing, I started collecting them.
Great.
And he hands each of you a potion to get out of Warden Forest.
Bottoms up.
Before I take mine, I go over to the mayor and just cordially tell him, I know many of our people are probably going to want to leave this place, but after what has happened, but I still think you should try to convince them to stick around, as who knows, maybe more gnomes of ours will come back home at some point. Maybe even my parents. And then I'll...
Yeah, he says, I can't prevent gnomes that want to venture out into the greater world from doing so, but when gnomes get older... Oh, this is Pathfinder, so you don't bleach. So, when gnomes get older and reach the end of their years, they usually find their way back home. In Pathfinder, gnomes have the most interesting lore story. If you're a gnome, in the world of Galorian, if you're a gnome, you have to spend your whole life looking for new adventures and new discoveries and new intrigue. If you start getting bored, you start turning white, like literally. Your skin starts bleaching. It's called the bleaching. Your hair starts turning white and your skin starts turning white. Mm-hmm. And it's sort of like a disease, like an aging disease. And if you start bleaching and you don't find enough adventure in your life, you'll die. So gnomes theoretically in Pathfinder can live forever if they can prevent the bleaching. So this is the problem. Gnomes like have so much. After a while, they have so much experience that nothing thrills them anymore, and then they start bleaching.
See, also Pathfinder as a gnome, they have an ability to be a chameleon, and like they can set and change their colors into the background. It's pretty neat.
Mm-hmm. Well,
we drink these.
Yeah, take potions and we head on out.
Yep, let's drink up. Oh, this is pretty bitter, like it was last time.
So once you drink the potions, of course, your vision gets a little bit hazy. It gets a little bit hazy, but then you start seeing lights start getting blurry, and then you see around on the path that you're on the road that you're walking, you see that a part of the road starts glowing and lighting up. That's the road. That's the road back. And as you follow that road, after a few hours, you find your way back out of the forest.
So there's magic mushrooms in this elixir. We'll be doing some microdosing.
All right. So where are we heading, guys?
Well, I guess we're going to head back to
the temple, I would say.
Back to the temple, and then we'll meet with Princess Justine.
Your quest
and let her know.
Your quest was to come and find and recruit Tolan. Now the quest being complete, you're going to head back to High Priestess Justine of Saloon, which is back in the House of the Moon in Waterdeep. It takes about a 10-day trip. It's a fairly solemn trip because of the horrors you've just seen through the dark machinations of the evil TX. You guys are sleeping with like one eye open on your way back, not knowing if he's still out there. But after 10 day, you finally make your way back to the House of the Moon. It's towards evening time when you get there. The moon is just coming out. And as you enter the temple, you realize it's very quiet. It's been cleared out. All the worshippers have been cleared out.
So what phase is the moon in at this night?
Right now, I'd say it's like a crescent moon.
Oh, what happened?
Mm.
Why, were one of you bitten during Tiny's quest?
I don't think so.
I sure hope not.
And not that Tiny Marble Cakes is aware of.
Obviously, on the way back, I would want to be like, oh, how'd you guys meet each other and everything? And all that stuff, and hear all the stories of Tiny and his caravan and stuff like that.
You walk into the temple, and the pews are empty. It appears that there's something is going on where they've emptied out the worshippers. Usually at night, that's when the temple is the most full. Obviously, because people who pray to Selûne love to do so during the moon. And by some sort of decree or order, the temple has been cleared. And you guys walk through and you see that it's very scarce. There's only a couple of guards there. There's some incense burning. And the ritual room, the doors of the ritual room are closed. And there's 2 guards in front of it.
Now, when you said the moon was in a crescent, was it a waxing crescent or a waning crescent?
I don't know. It depends on the time of the month. Let's say it's a waxing crescent moon, 3/4 full.
Oh, 3/4 full. That's more like a waxing gibbous, but whatever.
Yes, I don't. I'm not that good with the terminology of the exact phase.
I don't know if Tiny Marble Cakes would understand that, but in game, but.
Dorlak, this is
actually, I think Twirl may have 2 moons, actually. I don't remember.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, so there's
Because
2 moons.
Actually, then it has a bunch of meteors following the moon that shine sometimes, which are the tears.
So let's say one of the moons is a new moon, and the other moon is a waxing moon with asteroids around it.
I'm just trying to get to visualization of this. It sounds pretty.
So Dorlak, this is your goddess's temple. What's our next step?
Well, we need to speak with Justine, the priestess Justine. So we'll walk up toward the door where the guards are.
So the guards have crossed spears, and as they see you walk up, they acknowledge you. They both nod to you in acknowledgement, and they uncross their spears and slowly creak open the doors for you, knowing to expect you. And as the door creaks open, you hear a loud voice. It appears this voice appears to be reading something. And you can hear like the voice is echoing from the back of the ritual chamber. And you can hear the voice is reading, "Within the hot, humid corridors of the volcano, Nux began chuckling." As you guys start walking in, and you walk into the ritual chamber, it's empty except for the ritual table in the back of the ritual chamber. Sitting at the table are 3 very prominent figures. You have High Priestess Justine sitting at the end of a table. To the left of the table, you have this burly man. I guess if you're from Waterdeep, you would recognize him. Do I still have the picture of him? I'm not even sure. Yeah, it's Durnan. You guys haven't met him. The other party has met him.
Oh, yeah.
And Durnan has in his hands a large tome. On the side of the tome, you see the title, White Plume Mountain. And as you walk in, he was reading, and he just kind of stops reading and looks up at you. On the other end of the table, do I even have this?
So Durnan was reading from White Plume Mountain out loud?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
On the other end of the table, you see this gentleman, well known across Faerun. This is Elminster Amar, the Sage of Shadowdale, probably one of the most famous and powerful wizards in all of Faerun. And he's sitting there, he's puffing his pipe with red smoke coming out, as Durnan was reading from White Plume Mountain. And of course, directly in front of you is well known to you, High Priestess Justine.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you look at the table and you see a lot of interesting things on the table. The first thing that absolutely stands out at you right in the center of the table, not only is it in the center of the table, there appear to be powerful magical wards placed in six corners around it to keep its magic from spilling out. You look at it, it's a dark book with wrinkled patches of rough skin. They appear to be human skin sewn together around plates of some hard material that cover this tome. There's bones from 2 human hands that have been fastened in the binding as if to cradle the book. The book is emanating this aura of cold that these magical wards are just kind of holding back as much as they possibly can. You can see the book itself is exuding a powerful magical energy. You had the smell of brimstone and copper just floating in the air. And the book is it looks like the book is locked with a powerful magical arcane lock, and you can see the book is attempting to open itself. And there's the book appears to be you can hear almost audibly whispers of dark profane rituals coming out of the book. This appears to be the Historiophage in the flesh. You guys, even the prior party, they've never actually laid eyes on Historiophage. Also, on the table, there appear to be several artifacts. These are the artifacts previously retrieved. You see a perfectly formed, beautiful white apple. You see a magical cloak. You see a powerful smith's hammer. And Dorlak, I need you to roll insight when you look at this hammer. This appears to be a dwarven hammer, and you remember this hammer has the same exact insignia as the one carved onto your heirloom axe. And finally, you see an eagle mask. And these artifacts are placed all around the Historiophage as Durnan continues to read from the book. When High Justine sees all of you, she gestures for you to sit down and join them.
Well, I graciously accept and move forward and pull out a chair and sit down and say, kind sir, do please continue reading. This is fascinating.
Yes.
I also pull out the Tear of Saloon and I lay it on the table.
Elminster kind of eyes it as you lay it on the table, and he raises an eyebrow. And Durnan continues to read, and in his booming, gritty voice, he says, "Within the hot and humid corridors of the volcano, Nox began chuckling as wreaths of flame surrounded him. The 3 beleaguered adventurers looked on with growing astonishment as the Afridi continued his explanation, with a fire dancing from his mouth. He said, Faerun, the very world of Toril is about to change, and there's nothing anyone can do to stop it. The world will collapse into darkness and nothingness. An event called the Black Flame. And those that sent you here know that. And then he continued to read. And then the elven archer Gray responded, We have seen the positive things that can happen when we go back and set things right. And Nox replied, Whatever you have changed, you cannot change destiny. I sense that you have seen the outcome of the Black Flame. And then Nox created a fiery illusion of the Temple of Timoacon in his hand. Nox then stares at the adventurers intently, and his smile faded away, and he asks, Do you know what will cause the Black Flame? With fire dancing in his eyes, he answered his own question. It is the anger of a dead god. A god that broke the very laws of the universe. Laws that even gods must abide. When these laws are broken, the order of the planes are broken. And then Durnan kind of looks around at everybody and he flips a page forward, and you can tell you're kind of getting towards the end of the book. And then the Afridi said, We all know of Elminster. He and Caraptus fought across the plains. And as Dornan's reading this, he looks up at Elminster. Elminster's face is stone-faced, unchanged. He and Caraptus fought across the plains for 30 days and 30 nights. It was a glorious battle until Elminster fell. I had thought him dead until I began to sense his presence there, within that stone. And then Durnan looks up again at Elminster, and Elminster just unflinching. And Durnan continued to read. The wizard held up the glowing stone. We were told by Elminster, said the wizard Gregory. We were told by Elminster himself that the two fought until Mistra had intervened. And then the elven ranger Gray interceded. It was from his lips, he told us himself. And that was when Nox, with flames dancing around, smiled and said, Are you sure it was Elminster? So when Durnan read this, after Durnan read this, he stopped, staring at Elminster, who was sitting right there across the table. Elminster just kind of looks at him. He takes a few puffs of his pipe, and this rainbow comes out of his pipe. And after several anxious seconds of silence, Elminster put his pipe on a table, and he leaned forward, and he said, Well, the Afridi was telling the truth. Elminster Amar is dead. He was slain during the battle with the Dark Wizard Caraptus centuries ago. His body obliterated by disintegration. And it was Mistra herself who banished Caraptus to the far realms afterwards. Through the power of a wish spell, Elminster's essence and all of what was left of his existence was placed inside a magical stone, one which I gave these 3 adventurers, hoping to save them from their predestined fate. But they failed in their task, and the stone was destroyed. Elminster Amar is no more. So Durnan kind of, he takes out, he reaches for his sword. And you can see, this is very powerful. He takes out a Vorpal blade. He unsheathes it, and he points it at the Elminster. And he says, Who are you then? And Elminster just kind of sits back, doesn't look like he's even threatened. And he continues. Before his death, Elminster was warned by his patron goddess Mistra of his impending demise. She pleaded with him not to engage the dark wizard Caraptus, but his pride would not let him surrender the lands to Caraptus's evil. As a safeguard, Mistra, in secret, cast a clone spell and created me, his copy, to take his place upon his death. Normally, a clone requires the soul of its originator, yet Elminster was destroyed. But Mistra created a new essence, one of magic, and infused it in me. I am like Elminster in every way, but I am not him. Rather, I am a construct. And Durnan says, all this time, I can't believe it's so. Elminster died before I was even born. And then Elminster kind of raised an eyebrow, says, yes, the original Elminster Armor died. But 'twas I who had entered hell, 'twas I who had changed the fates of the realms since. Am I not more real than the original man in the flesh? And they kind of, the three of them kind of look at each other. And Justine, seemingly a little bit astonished by all of what's going on, says, well, the Chosen are here. And she points to you to introduce yourselves.
I stand up and I say, hi, I'm Dorlak.
I will just hold a hand on the hilt of my rapier and stand up and say, I am Tolan Baffleheart, and I have dealt with too many things being something else recently, so I'm not liking what I'm hearing right now.
So I likewise stand and I say, I bow deeply and at the revered personages that are in front of me, and I say, I am Nardus Kuakese, and I am here to help out in any way that I can. I'm proud to serve with these other three fine gentlemen. Well, I guess a lady and gentleman.
And then Tiny Marble Cakes will stand up and say,
Marble Cakes, nice to meet you, Meow Meow. That was told Meow love stories.
So Justine kind of looks at the two of them. She says, these are the ones that Saloon has chosen. And Durnan kind of sits back. He surveys all of you. He says, we've already sent a group of adventurers to their deaths, and I'm just loath to send another. And Justine kind of looks at him and replies. He says, these were chosen by the sanctity of Saloon herself. He says that there's purpose in what the Moon Maiden does, and if it is in these that she entrusts, if she entrusts her essence, then we must abide by it. And Durnan turns to all of you and says, "Do you understand what is being asked of you?"
Sir Durnan, if I may be so bold, putting their lives on the line is what adventurers do, especially for a just cause, and I am aware of what's on the line and in the bigger picture and the smaller picture. So yes, I'm prepared.
He's like, do you understand what is on the line here?
As I understand it, it could be the whole entire history of Faerun on the line.
Elminster kind of interjects and says, the power of the historiophage is still hidden from me, though not of want of my probing. He said, it appears whoever had written this book, whoever had designed this power, was a being of untold power. And this being created a riddle, a puzzle that it wished to be solved before it made its intentions clear. But its effects are undeniable. And he kind of looks at the three of them, and Durnan says, I think we should tell them. The other two look at him and they kind of nod. And Durnan says, what I just read, what the Ifriti had described, the black flame, it's already begun. And Durnan kind of, Elminster helps out by kind of summoning a big map, and you can see it's a huge map of Faerun. And Elminster kind of points to Icewind Dale, and the area starts glowing up. He says, and Durnan kind of tells a story, and he says, several months ago, an expedition to Icewind Dale found a magical, impenetrable black sphere. This sphere was immune to any forms of enchantment and divination. It was immune to any attack. It simply existed and grew, and anything it touched was absorbed. Living things, land, the air itself. The black sphere began to grow in size, and now it is about the size of, I would say, a small city, and it continues to grow day by day. There are reports of these other spheres in different places, though we've not verified this. He says this sphere appears to burn, but without any heat. Appears to be a black flame. And Elminster says, I've studied this sphere myself. There's only one thing in existence, one magic that's comparable. The sphere of annihilation. And Elminster creates in his hand what looks like a big sphere. He says, a black hole of incredible energy, unable to be enchanted or studied because all magical energy, all kinetic energy that comes into contact gets absorbed. It emits no light, for no light can escape it. It simply sucks it in within itself. Any person stupid enough to come near it has been sucked in and never seen again. He says, I cannot but guess that this is the black flame. And he's like, I cannot but associate this with what is happening here with a historiophage. And he points at this book, which is now like bouncing up and down on the table. He says, I do not know how long it will take for these spheres to grow, but they will grow. There's nothing to stop them. There's only these cryptic clues created by some powerful astronomical being with a power that rivals even the gods. And there's only those chosen by the goddess Selune who has any access to the historiophage, any ability to affect it. Elminster says that is what is at stake.
What are these riddles then?
They are clues. They are clues to certain objects within famous stories of high magic and adventure. For instance, and Elminster, he doesn't touch it, but he just kind of uses his hand to levitate the apple. Use a levitation spell, and the apple fills up. For instance, the historiophage had said, "Seek the item of the utmost beauty and the most deadly poison." And thus, the tree of the Gothias, a poison that cannot be averted, that will destroy anything unable to be affected by any resurrection magic. This was what the historiophage had asked, and this is what the adventurers had retrieved. And he kind of goes over each of the objects. He shows you a cloak of Strahd, a cloak that allows you to become completely invisible, with a level of invisibility very difficult to detect. He shows you the mask of the betrayer retrieved at Tamoacon. It is a mask that holds the soul of a decrepit and evil ancient ruler. And then he says, but there was one object that when I am afraid our adventurers failed in White Plume Mountain, they were unable to achieve. It is the weapon that is true to itself. From the story of the White Plume Mountain, we believe this to be the famed blade Blackrazor. He says, we do not know the importance of these artifacts, but it appears that when we retrieve an artifact, the stories that the historiophage have consumed are reborn, and the black flame slows down. So our only recourse of action, from what I understand, is to continue and to give the historiophage what it asks. And Elminster motions to Durnan to continue reading in the book about White Plume Mountain. And I'll summarize it for you. What happened towards the end of White Plume Mountain is that the party of 3 that went in, there originally was a party of 5 that went into White Plume Mountain. One member was unfortunately swallowed up by a purple worm and found his demise there. The second member had succumbed to the evil of Caraptus and turned into an oath-breaking paladin and warlock and had to be slain by one of his party members. The remaining 3 made it to Black Plume Mountain. They retrieved all 3 sentient weapons, but they attempted to bring out the wrong weapon, and that sealed their fate. Blackrazor is a two-handed. Blackrazor is a magical sentient two-handed sword that they had acquired, but were unable to retrieve from White Plume Mountain. It says the next logical step is to send you for Blackrazor, where the other adventurers have failed.
Oh boy.
You guys, they kind of look at you to kind of to talk and think about it.
As far as I'm concerned, whatever is necessary is to take care of this evil is what we ought to do, and we have 3 wise people right here that are directing us, and the goddess Saloon chose us, and I'm sure that she wouldn't have our those ones that are telling us what we need to do to not know what they're doing.
Yep, if the history of Fosh says that we need to find the blade, the Blackrazor, then we need to go find it. So I'm ready.
If this is what I've been asked to come here to do, and that's what we'll have to do.
Now, Minster says, now, this time, we know what you will face. We will not send you in as unprepared as the others, for we know the story. He says, I can cast powerful enchantments upon you to have you resist the flames of the Afridi. So he shall not be a threat to you. But you cannot make the same mistake that the others did. Do not remove the wrong weapon. It must be Blackrazor.
Which one's which, Meow Meow?
He looks at you. He says, my young tabaxi, Blackrazor is a two-handed claymore. Large, dark, made of onyx. It is not the hammer of dwarven make, and is not the trident.
In this story, what happened to the...
Oh, you guys know the story. Durnan read the story. The story ends quite tragically when the three adventurers were trying to escape White Plume Mountain once they had retrieved all three weapons. In their attempt to escape, they were blocked out by the Afridi, Nox. He cast a prismatic wall at the only entrance to White Plume Mountain. But the party, knowing that they can probably use Elminster to help them, they used Elminster's stone and smashed it against the prismatic wall, destroying it. They were given the ability now with an exit to Black Plume Mountain. However, because they took out the wrong weapon, the dark magic of indoctrination of Caraptus had taken effect. The party failed their charisma saves and began going under indoctrination, a powerful domination effect. The wizard, Gregory, was completely under the domination effect and turned hostile. The elf, Gray, tried to escape, but at the end he could not get out as the wizard chased him down and cast a wall of force, trapping both of them inside. There was a chance the elf could have killed his prior ally, which was now indoctrinated, but the elf refused, and thus the party fell.
For 1,000 years.
Yeah, poor Olaf was mowed down by the Afridi before all of this.
Oh, bad memories, even though they weren't mine.
I've seen this in my dreams.
Yes, Dorlak, you saw this in your dreams. Now you realize what your dreams are about. It's your connection to Saloon and your devotion to Saloon has given you a lot of direct access to these images. You know them to be true.
So,
any other suggestions on how to handle these things?
So was Nox alive?
What?
Was at the end of that,
Nox,
when,
yeah.
Nox was still alive. At
Nox
the end
is
of
an
that, wasn't he?
Afridi. Unfortunately, it's difficult to truly kill these Afridis because even if you kill them, they go back to their plane. And
Okay.
the Afridis are sort of like elementals. You can't destroy them unless you destroy them in their native plane, the elemental plane of fire. So they can be defeated and they'll disappear for a while, but they'll still exist.
I got you.
Boo.
We did actually defeat him and send him back to his plane, right? But then
He came
because
with
because they're
there's
taking
two
the
of
wrong
them.
weapon out.
Yeah, there's
The,
well, you defeated one of them.
Yeah.
Nox had a brother
Yeah, that's right.
named Nyx.
Nyx.
You were able to get rid of Nyx, but you could taking on two Afridi at the same time was overwhelming, and you guys were not able to. Well, the prior party was not able to succeed.
Honestly, with some of the stuff that was in there, I was just surprised we was able to get as far as we did in that one part.
Well, to be truthful, White Plume Mountain, the odds are horribly stacked against the players, and that's how it has been originally, and that's how it is in this version as well. You're more expected to fail than succeed, actually.
Well, then we succeeded in failing.
Yeah, that's actually one of the reasons I like an adventure so much, because this is an adventure where it's expected that you're going to lose at the end. You know, but that's what actually makes it so memorable, because there's always a chance you can win. So that tiny little chance, if you see that glimmer of hope, that's what makes an adventure really memorable. That's one of the reasons why White Plume Mountain is probably one of my favorite adventures. You're just to be fair, it's not because you guys play terribly. It's because the odds are horribly stacked against you in that adventure. Like the fact that you even got the fact that you got all three weapons is impressive. But when you're trying to leave, you're supposed to run into two Afridis that are very, very difficult to beat at the level that you play the adventure. And even if your party's fully rested and ready to go, it's hard to take those two Afridi down. But if you rest in White Plume Mountain, you get indoctrinated.
Yeah, we was screwed.
Yeah, that's how it's supposed to be. I thought you guys were gonna actually do it because you guys just happened to make a straight beeline for the one weapon you needed. So I'm like, wow, they might actually do it. But unfortunately, you kind of had to go get the other two.
I kind of thought after we went through,
you didn't know.
and the force wall came up, that's when I began to thinking it might just have been the sword, and then we probably should have just left. But it's too late by then, and I wasn't sure. By the end, I was sure that it was the sword. That was what we were supposed to have.
Yeah, I mean, not to get further spoilers, but if you kill that Sphinx, the wall doesn't come up again.
Oh,
you didn't fight the Sphinx. You just riddled it. But if you killed the Sphinx, you probably there wouldn't be a second wall. But it's still
we would have done that too. Then
it's very tough to get past those two Afridis because they're supposed to take up the entire corridor, and you can't walk around them. You can't go through them. You can teleport past them maybe. So like one of you can misty step across them. So those are kind of the ways you think about it in retrospect, having played the adventure.
Well, in retrospect, I would have killed Gregory. And then at least we might have got the sword back.
Yeah, but I think I gave you that option knowing you wouldn't do it.
You did. I mean, I had the option to do that, but I was hoping we could save him.
I think I gave you that option knowing that your character wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Just to have your character struggle with it.
Well, I did struggle with it, so. But that's what makes it fun, though. I mean.
Yeah, I mean, the idea that there's an adventure you're not supposed to win.
Yeah, we actually did really good. I mean, Olaf, and when he did that thickening, what is it? Thickening cloud or sickening ray? Radiance.
Well, the sickening radiance is something that they absolutely did not have in first edition AD&D. There's nothing even close to it that you can do like that back then. So
he just wiped out a whole horde.
Yeah, so that gave you a big advantage. This is why fifth edition, the original AD&D stuff, doesn't always translate that well to fifth edition. It's because you have these abilities that just didn't exist back then. Like high level spells were just weird. There was like summon cats. That was one of the high-level spells.
Summon cat?
Yeah, it was called. It's in the second edition. You can find it in a second edition player's handbook, where you cast a spell and any cats in the area will get teleported to your location or something weird like that. You're like, I can't see how this could be helpful.
Sounds like a cat lady wizard would do that.
Yeah, back then, the game ran differently. You didn't have like wizards had their spell slots, but once you use up your spell slots, you're pretty useless. You don't have cantrips. You just nothing you can do. You can whack something with your staff, but you're useless.
Yeah, low level wizards were useless in first or second edition,
and well, the thing about first edition is gaining levels doesn't give you that much stuff. Wizards get spell slots, and that's about it. Just like in fifth edition, every time you gain a level, your class, every other level, your class abilities give you something cool. So you feel like a sense of progression. In old editions, you would be like level 15, and you don't get anything for gaining the level except hit points. Like if you're a fighter, all you get are more hit points. Oh well, your THAC0 goes up, but that's it. So you don't have anything to look forward to in gaining levels except for more hit points and some THAC0. Like you don't get more abilities, more cool stuff to do, extra attacks. Like at some certain point, getting levels is just that's why they were letting people level up to level 30 because it didn't make a difference. You just have a lot more hit points.
Well, how do we? How are we gonna get to where we think this Blackrazor is gonna be and bring it back?
He says, don't put them in there.
Justine answers, well, the prayer of Selûne, of course. That is how the original adventurers had entered. And Justine says, this time, let us do it here, in the House of the Moon. She says, although it is you who have brought the historiophage to us, the tear of Selûne belongs to the faith of the Moon Maiden. And he says, now, this time we will do it in her name. And she kind of looks at the two of them because previously they had entered the book at the Yawning portal.
Right.
And Durnan looks at her and says, very well, let's do it here. He looks at you, he says, he looks at the four of you, he says, prepare yourselves for an adventure, and then meet us back here when you're ready. Still not time for shopping yet, so just hold off.
Okay.
So he's giving, because you guys have been traveling for a while, so he's giving you like a day to go and rest and do whatever you need to do.
But no shot. Gotcha.
You guys get ready to start shopping after you come back from this part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's a specific reason why I don't want you shopping now. You'll find out very soon.
Okay.
Right. Okay. Tiny Marble Cakes is gonna ask the three, Elminster, Justine, and Durnan. She'll ask,
Gregory from the story, Meow Meow. The one that got possessed by the evil wizard, Meow Meow. Did he by chance work in the library in Waterdeep, Meow Meow?
Durnan says, I believe he did. Yes. I believe he was quite a bookworm. Would spend all of his downtime in the library, reading.
and then Tiny Marble Cakes kind of looks to the floor and is just like,
Meow Meow, gonna have to tell Aurelia what happened to him, Meow Meow. Sad, Meow Meow.
Durnan comes over and kind of puts a hand on your shoulder and says, we do this not because we want to. It is difficult to lose good friends and adventurers, and I have lost many through my life. This is why it is important to understand what we ask you to do before you go and undertake these quests. There's no guarantee of success and no guarantee of survival. But know that what you do is the only chance we have to stop this.
Well, hearing a tone's gonna be like, well, if it's gotta be someone good like us, I guess. We're the chosen, and gotta be the best to figure this out.
Meow meow, we gotta complete this mission and save the world so that more people don't suffer, meow meow.
Oh, Tiny, you know what I noticed? So, when you talk on Discord, when you first start talking, because when you talk in a high pitch in Tiny's voice, it cuts it off for like a couple of seconds. But then as you continue to talk, it allows it to come through.
Huh. I wonder if that has something to do with like a noise gate or something.
That's what I think it is. I think it's a Discord noise gate. The problem is, if you turn off all that noise suppression stuff, you're going to hear like all the background noise. Like the noise suppression on Discord is actually pretty good. But you can't individually set like frequencies of noise gates and stuff like that on Discord.
Nah, it probably just blocks out.
Yeah, I think what it does is like I think it realizes that if you have a big deviation from what's expected in your frequency, like all of a sudden you jump from a low frequency to a high frequency, it'll say, oh, well, this has to be background noise and cuts that off for a second. But as you continue on a high frequency, it allows it through. It says, oh, well, this must be what's normal. So if you always talk in a high pitched voice, it will probably let it through. And if you always talk in a low pitched voice, it'll let it through. But I think what happens is when you jump from the low pitched voice to a high pitched voice, that's when it gets cut off. Like it's only a couple of seconds.
Huh. That's interesting. Well, maybe what I'll do is I'll like, if I talk in character as Tiny Marble Cakes, like start with something that's
start with 5 meows. Meow 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 meow.
Yeah, I was thinking that because meaningless, like
meow 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 meow. Taxi taxi.
Yeah, that works. That actually works.
Did it cut out like?
No, it didn't. It didn't cut out actually on that one. All right. Whenever you guys are ready, we can undergo the retrieval of Blackrazor.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah. Let's get it.
All right. So you guys take a day of rest, and you come back the next evening. As you come back, once again, the ritual chamber and the ritual table is set up just as before. Once again, the historiophage is in the center of the table, warded off so it doesn't try to do whatever it's trying to do. And you guys sit around this circular table. And first thing is Elminster uses his magic to cast fire resistance on everybody before you even go in. After he does that, you guys all place your hand on the Tears Selune as Priestess Justine begins singing and chanting the prayer to Selune. She says, Alame Tuya Usatiana, and the world around you begins to phase. As you enter a phase of teleportation, you can feel yourselves kind of elongating. And you feel that the walls of the temple disappear, and you guys are flying through space, and you see stars just flying at you. And then a few seconds later, you guys start feeling like a little bit like you're kind of weightless, like you're not weightless, but you feel like you're lighter than you normally are. You kind of look around. It's really strange because what comes into view, you were expecting White Plume Mountain to come into view, but what comes into view appears to be some sort of bizarre magical wasteland. And you feel like your gravity is even different. You look around and you get warped into this this weird magical wasteland. You can't tell if it's even on the material plane. There appears to be the sun which is Saul, appears before you, but it looks different. It looks like a lava ball. Everywhere around you, the ground under you is still sand, but everything around you, there are these purple crystals that are floating in the air with sparks of electricity flying back and forth. And you guys end up into this kind of a setting. And then finally the teleportation ends, and you feel yourself being pulled into this plane, and as you all just drop out of the sky. You drop from a good 20 feet in the sky, but as you land, it doesn't hurt because it seems like you weigh less. Like something is really wrong. This is not the place that was described in the book that you read.
Is it me, guys, or is this not what we were expecting? Did this stupid tier thing send us to the wrong place?
Wow.
We went
I think this is
meow, but
where we're supposed to be.
You think? Were you hearing something different from the story that Nernan was telling us? I thought he told us like this is a desert and then there's a mountain. White Plume Mountain. This doesn't look like a desert.
I wonder if we were somehow sent off course. Oh.
Is this the evil doings of TX?
Or Caraptus, or maybe TX and Caraptus teamed up.
Oh no, that would be horrible.
That would be awful.
So what skills do you have to figure out where you are?
How about insight?
Okay, I'll let you roll an insight.
Okay.
Oh, that's a great roll. The question is not where you are. The question is when. You look up at the sky. The stars are still in the right place to be on Toril. However, this place appears to be completely devoid of life. It is a dark, magical wasteland.
Who was it that said, who did the insight?
Neris.
Nerds?
I gave him an insightful hint.
So is this after Terrell's been, if the history of Phage keeps on going and we don't stop it after the black hole took over, or is it before anything took place?
I believe this is after the
Yes,
after effects.
the world of Toro in its creation was described very differently. It was a world that was completely dark and nothing existed and there was no light. And then the gods existed and the sun was created. Different from the history of Earth, obviously. The land it was geocentric, just like the Middle-aged people believed. The land was created first, and then the stars were created. This doesn't look like it. It does, if this were the beginning of creation, there'd be, gods at work, and the waters were first created, and and then the land was created, and then trees were created. This doesn't look like something like that. This looks like an apocalyptic era, where at the end of the world.
Look around for structure, possibly ruins or anything like that. Is there anything like that around that we
We can get a perception for that.
Perception.
I've got a +5 for mine.
Go for it. I got +0.
You happen to see far off in the distance, there does appear to be what looks like It looks like a platform or some sort, and there are some weird rocks on a platform. That seems to be the only discernible artificial structure. Everything else just seems like chaos. So you guys walk towards this platform, and you realize that you weigh a lot less than you normally would. You know, you're very light on your feet. You're kind of actually, when you jump, you stay in the air for a lot longer than you normally would. It's like the gravity of the moon here.
Tiny, you're having a good time, aren't you?
Tiny Marble Cakes is just a...
Actually, there's a video of in the 1960s, the Russians sent some cats up to space, and the cats weren't having a great time. Because the cats need their riding reflex. So in space, when it's weightless, they don't have a riding reflex, so they were bugging out.
The Tiny Marble Cakes will just jump like... like she's like enjoying that.
All right. After about a couple of minutes of walking, you guys reach a platform. On the platform are 3 destroyed statues. The statues, it's hard to discern what they were. You used to, kind of maybe the gods or something like that. They're very badly ruined. The faces are all defaced. At the bottom of the statue, there's a plaque. And the plaque says, "These 3 are the scions of Caraptus, having fulfilled their 1,000-year service. The ultimate protectors. May they live. May their service be forever remembered here." And as you look at the 3 statues, you notice that the statue in the middle is holding up the sword Blackrazor. The other 2 statues is holding up the other 2 weapons.
Now, is this the real Blackrazor or just a model?
You can't tell. It looks like the real Blackrazor, but it's collected a lot of dust. It looks like it's worn down.
Probably just a model. Because actually, who would leave something like that out in the open? Actually, even Tiny Marble Cake.
Well, if this is Apocalypse, who cares if it's out there? There ain't nobody to see it.
That precious out in the open, because someone can just come in and take it.
So I will inspect the sword.
How are you inspecting the sword?
I am going to, remembering the description that was given to us about what Blackrazor was going to look at, I'll use insight again to see if I can see anything that's discernible that would make me think. Did they tell us who ended up with the Blackrazor? Did the history, when he was reading the White Plume book, did it say who ended up with Blackrazor?
Gray had Blackrazor in his pack when he was trying to escape.
Okay, so then I will also look to check out if the character that is holding the Blackrazor is the elf, that ranger. That
very good. So you look down at the base of the statue, and there's a lot of dust there. You brush off the dust, and that statue holding Blackrazor is labeled Gray Davlin.
Are these statues like human size or larger than human size?
They are human sized. They are life size statues.
Life size statues.
I just look at Dorlak. I said, this may be the actual sword we're looking for. This is where the Stone of Saloon sent us.
I'm gonna inspect the other statues and see if they kind of fit these descriptions that.
Yeah, as you brush off the bases of the other statues, it says Gregory and Olaf. It appears to be the 3 adventurers, and the plaque in the middle calls them the scions of Caraptus. May their service, 1,000-year service, be forever remembered. Statues are all warped with age and really decrepit looking. Faces are defaced.
If they were banished there for 1,000 years, and nobody's been back except for the other went and looked for them, so they're just an assumption that they made this as a memorial. So I don't believe it would be the actual equipment. It's just models of the equipment.
Meow. Oh. Meow. Leave something precious like that lying around where Meow Meow sees the statues deteriorated. Anybody could have messed with them and broke them, Meow Meow, and took anything of value away from them, Meow Meow.
Well, I'll actually just go up and try to grab the sword.
As you grab the sword, a bright red light shines right behind you. And everybody turns around immediately to see what it is, and a figure standing there. This a horrible-looking melted creature made out of magma. Half of his head is melted through, and he says, "Careful with that. It's very old." And you can see so he's made out of magma, and this lava is just dripping off of him onto the floor and hitting the ground with a sizzle.
I kind of punch Dorlak in the shoulder, and I said, "That looks like the description that they gave us of Nox."
Not exactly.
Yeah,
Freedy's the description of Freedy is this genie-like being that is on fire and floating in the air and stuff. This creature looks like he's seen better days.
Well, I'm thinking since he's on fire and stuff like that, I'm making that assumption.
Yeah, you would think so. Nothing else makes sense.
It's not that I saw the name Nox on that picture that you shared.
Of course. And he just kind of yells out. He says, "Put your swords away. I'm not here to fight."
Why are you here?
I have nowhere else to be. There is nowhere else to be.
Just
So where are we?
Where are you? You're in the Anarok Desert. What's left of it, when the earth was sundered apart.
So there's no life left?
There is nothing left.
And what about the other planes?
They collapsed upon themselves.
How did you survive?
I survived by the power of Caraptus. It is only he who has survived the Black Flame.
You seem a bit melancholy. Is there any particular reason for that?
I exist, and I cannot die. I exist, and I no longer have a purpose, for there is nothing left. And he opens up his hands, and you can see they're melting on the ground. I cannot be destroyed. I am all that is. He kind of looks you over. He says, "Caraptus said that there one day would be those who came to take Blackrazor. Well, go. Take it."
Okay, I take it.
As you take it, you notice that you break off the hand of Gray's statue,
Sorry, Gray.
and the entire all three statues begin to crumble, and then they fall down into a big pile of rubble. And he says, "Well, I guess that's it then." the end of all things.
Well, I'd say we say a real quick prayer to Saloon and get the heck out of here.
Wait.
If we can.
It's been millennia since I've had any company. You sure you want to leave so quick?
Yeah, I don't see no reason to be here.
What happened to the Cyan?
Well, if you'd be willing to stay a while, I can tell you.
I think we should just go ahead and go back. I mean, I don't see any reason to stay.
You must
these are
forgive
brave
me.
adventures, but we didn't really know them, so
It's been 5,000 years since I've worried about my appearance.
yeah, I can tell.
Smell like crispy bacon.
Guys, let's just go back. I mean, let's not hesitate. I don't know what the advantage of knowing what happened to the Scions or. And good news for you, sir, is if we can go back and change history, maybe you won't be doomed to be lonely like this.
He starts laughing. And as he laughs, magma starts dropping out of his mouth. Change history. There's no power in the realms that can change time. But you can try. And he kind of, he gives you a decrepit smile. He says, at least let me give you a parting gift. If you are such a rush to leave. The 3 adventurers served Caraptus faithfully. Well, they had no choice. But they retained their memories of who they once were. They knew that one day others will be sent to retrieve the Blackrazor. And they prepared for this. They have parting gifts. Go, look. He points at the rubble.
All right, I'm game. I'll go look at the rubble.
So you dig through the rubble, and you come upon this this box made out of metal. Appears to be a very well sealed box with it seems to unscrew apart, but a very well sealed box made out of metal. Here, take it. Gifts from those who failed.
Okay, we take it.
You take the box, and then you unscrew. The box is like a pill capsule, made out of metal. And you unscrew the pill capsule, and the minute you unscrew it, a whole bunch of stuff falls out. So I have a parcel for everybody. A lot of items that have been preserved throughout the millennia.
Ooh.
You find an ancient dwarven journal. You found a deed to the dock ward in Waterdeep. You find what appears to be a wizard's spellbook, labeled Gregory Marsh. You find a bunch of weird potions. You find a mercenary contract. You found a signet ring labeled Ashford. And of course, you get the Blackrazor, or the corpse of Blackrazor. It is supposed to be a sentient weapon. It doesn't say a word as you handle it. It's old, dusty, the edge is dulled, and you don't get any discernible magic from Blackrazor. Not the powerful magical item that was described in the story. This object does not appear to have any sentience whatsoever. And Nox says, "Well, if you'll be off, enjoy your gifts."
Can I roll insight on this?
Sure. Nobody trusts me after TX now, right? You don't think he's being dishonest to you? You think that he's been waiting a long time to just meet you and say these words? Like that's his only purpose left.
Well, guys, I think we should grab this stuff and go. Except,
Seems like a plan.
Yo.
Yeah, because I want to take this journal.
Well, I think we should just take everything back.
Yes, I will. I'll dump the parcel in the party sheet.
Even the rubble.
Well, not the rubble, obviously.
I was going to say it was in the partial. So.
Yeah. No, the parcel itself should be a pile of rubble. I don't know why it's labeled as an item in the parcel.
I was curious. Well, maybe we can reincarnate the guys or something. Well, we got the stuff. We got what we came for. Let's head back.
As you like walk away, he doesn't try to stop you. He just sits there melting. He just stands there, kind of half melted off. He looks at you with these forlorn eyes.
Before we go, you say Caraptus is the only one around. Does he regret what has happened?
He said, Caraptus was the only one around. Even Caraptus has an end. That is the end of all things.
Was he responsible for the Black Spheres? The Black Flame?
Caraptus is simply an opportunist. He made himself immune to the Black Flame and survived it. Who is responsible for the Black Flame? Well, I think you know the answer to that question. And from the book that you guys read, the answer to the question is what caused the Black Flame is the affront to the order of the universe caused with the death of the goddess Tyche and her splitting into two goddesses, Timora and Bishaba. That was an affront to the order of the universe and has caused the collapse of the universe that just happened slowly over time. He says, I don't know how you can fix something of that nature.
Well, we're going to try.
And he doesn't even seem to be able to move. Like his final purpose finally done, you see his legs begin to solidify as he himself starts turning into what appears to be a rock statue.
Well, guys, I think that's our hint to get out of here.
I think you should hit him with a hammer and break him.
Payback.
That's insult to injury, man.
Well, how do we get out of here?
The way you leave, you guys know, you were well instructed. The way you leave is the same way you came. You say the prayer of Sailun while holding. It is done in a ritual form, over the course of, like half an hour or so. But you keep saying the prayer to Sailun while handling the tear of Sailun, and it will bring you out of the story.
Alright.
you can't do it in the middle of combat or something. It's like a ritual kind of thing. You got to do it
Right.
over 30 minutes. That's why Gray could not escape.
Right.
It's not like a single action kind of thing.
Well, start praying there, you whole night.
So you guys say the prayer to Selyun, and without incident, you guys are transported once again back to the temple.
Wow. Well, that fire protection for nothing.
So as you guys get back, your three quest givers are still there. It appears that your little adventure has been written inside the White Plume Mountain book.
Cool.
And kind of Durnan says, "What is this? A future where nothing exists, where the world is blasted apart." He says, Durnan says, "Is this something we can stop, Elminster?" And Elminster kind of looks at him like really, kind of with looking kind of sad, and he says, "I don't know, Durnan. I don't know." And you guys, once you guys get back, you're getting a little sick from all that traveling, from all that planes warping. You put Blackrazor on the table, and it looks pretty pale and terrible compared to all the other artifacts that are brimming with magical energy. It looks kind of like a worthless little trinket. Well, they've done what they needed to do. They brought Blackrazor back. Although I cannot say what has happened to this magical item. It is devoid of power. And then Elminster kind of lifts the object up with his levitation, starts turning it around as he studies it. He says, This weapon has lost its sentience, lost its enchantment entirely. How could this be so? 5,000 years. Perhaps the power has been drained.
Supposedly the black flame engulfed the planet.
Yeah, and the three of as you say the words that the three of them didn't really want to say, they all kind of give you each a really hard look. And then Justine chimes in. She says, "I don't know if what we do can stop this. All I know is we must have faith." And as you do this, the historiophage in the middle of the table begins to bump up and down. And Durnan points to Elminster, points to it, looking at Elminster. Durnan says, "It's time. Look." Elminster says, "Ah, yes, it is." And the three of them sit down, and Elminster begins his incantations, his magical. He casts these magical enchantments as he draws back the wards on top of historiophage so he can use it. And he casts magical incantations, and he casts a spell, and the lock on historiophage clicks open, and historiophage opens up, and a torrent of magical energy flies out. This is dark necrotic energy that Elminster casts a spell and contains it. And as this happens, historiophage kind of goes crazy in the air, and the pages begin flipping. And then the pages end up opening one blank page, and on the blank page you see writing in a very exquisite hand in some sort of script. Like the style of script is nothing you've ever seen before, although the words are themselves are readable, and the script begins to write itself. And the script says, "Retrieve the very heart of evil. And then the book Elminster, after reading that, he once again forces the book closed, locks it, and then rewards it. And Elminster repeats it. Retrieve the heart of evil. They kind of look at each other. It seems to be a very, very, very vague and massive thing to say.
Well, Elminster should like that then.
What do you suppose that could mean? And Durnan has next to him a blank book. And all of a sudden, the blank book opens, and words start writing themselves in the book. And then the book title starts writing itself on top of the book. The title says "Dead in Thay." He kind of looks at each other. Thay. Elminster. Elminster says, "Well, this is troubling." He says, "Are they to send our adventures to Thay?" And Durnan opens the book. He says, "Well, I have the first passage here, before anybody has entered the book. The passage references the Dark Lich and proprietor of the Dark Lich and proprietor of the Council of Thay, Zaztam, has kept his greatest secret inside a dark vault. The secret of his phylactery." And when he says those words, everybody falls silent. And Elminster kind of just looks at astonishment. The phylactery of Zaztam. Do you mean to say this book asks us to retrieve the phylactery of the most powerful lich in Faerun? He kind of looks at the four of you. And then he looks at you, Tolan, and he says, You're a wizard yourself. What level of magic are you capable of?
I'm pretty skilled, I think. I can catch spells to about a level of 5 right now. That's pretty impressive, right?
Durnan looks at
Wall of Force every once in a while.
Durnan looks at Priestess Justine. They stand no chance.
What do you mean we stand no chance? I've fought many of people bigger, better than me with my skills.
You've never fought a red wizard, Elminster says. And this Zaztam is no ordinary red wizard. He is the Zulkir of necromancy. He is the highest red wizard. And they kind of and then Priestess Justine says, perhaps we are getting a bit ahead of ourselves now. She says, before we send the adventurers off, let us figure out what exactly we are to do. Let us find out a bit more about what has been happening and what place they could possibly send them in Thay. For Thay has such a sordid and dark history. He says, we are just recently out of war with Thay. I can't imagine in throughout its long and sordid history that there would be any time, there would be a time that is worse than even the present, she says. She says, we will meet back here in a 10 days' time. Once we discover what exactly is to be asked of us, then we shall figure out what to do. Says, I too will not send the chosen of Salian to their immediate death. And then Durnan says, very well, that seems like the best course of action. We need to find out more about this. We need to do research. Durnan says, have you heard of the Vault of Thay, Elminster? Elminster says, yes, only through whispers and hearsay. The Vault of Thay, or the Doom Vault, is the most heavily guarded prize of the entire slave nation. He says no one can go in or out, not even one such as I, without the express approval of Zaztam himself. He kind of looks around. He says, I could not even challenge the Red Wizard of Thay by myself. In fact, during the war with Thay, I required much assistance from the elves of Evermeet to even drive them back. Elminster says, give me a 10-day. I will learn what I can of the Doom Vault, and then we will reconvene and figure out what our course of action is to be. So the three of them kind of look to you guys, and they say, we will meet back here in a 10-day. And then when they say this, Elminster turns to Justine and says, I have a request of you, High Lady. I know it is the tear of Saloon and the blessing of the Moon Maiden herself that allows this to progress. But the power needed to contain the historiophage is immense. There is warding. There is a vortex of magical energy coming from under mountain that surrounds the inn of the Yawning portal. It is there that my power is the most complete. He says it would be safer if we had conducted this business at the Yawning portal. He says, it is but a humble request, priestess. And Justine looks at Elminster, says, noted, I will give you my decision when you return. The Elminster and Durnan take their artifacts and the historiophage and their books, and they take Blackrazor too, and they excuse themselves. Now we can take a little break. It's 9.
Cool.
All right, well, let's get back to business then. You guys go out and do some shopping. You do a little bit of resting up, and you are summoned back by Priestess Justine. She summons you specifically, Dorlak, but she didn't say that the others can't come along if you want to take them. And this is in between the week that you have before Elminster comes back with more information in regards to Dead and Thay.
Okay.
So
I think the guys should come with me.
So the party goes back to the High Priestess Justine, and she motions you to come see her, and she says, "Well, Dorlak, I wanted to tell you that I've decided to agree to Durnan's terms. Durnan wishes us to conduct the ritual and send you back to the story within the Yawning Portal Inn, where the magical vortex of Undermountain can heighten Elminster's powers. He says, however, to do so and to bring the Tear of Saloon back to the Yawning Portal Inn leads to great risk. And this is a risk I've taken before, and it led to the deaths of 3 great adventurers. And I'm concerned about conducting this risk again. But I believe that it is the best course of action. What do you think, Dorlak?
I think as long as you prayed about it, and if that's a decision you came up with, and that's the decision we shall go with.
But this time, it is different. This time, we, the church, have located the chosen of Saloon ourselves, and not left it up to outsiders, to Durnan, to locate them. Says, this time, I am entrusting you to hold the glory of Saloon inside your own hands, to take upon the faith of Saloon to complete the mission. Do you understand?
Yes.
He says, and then she, she's holding the tear Saloon in her hand, and as she's about to hand it to you, she kind of hesitates for a second. And she kind of looks you dead in the eye, and she says, Executor, your faith has never been under question. Your duty to the Silver Stars that you have carried out righteously and unerringly. However, if you are to carry forth the most holy artifact, the very tear of Saloon, a remnant of the very essence of Our Lady in silver, your worthiness must be proven beyond that of a faithful knight. It must be absolute. For such an honor, I must find you worthy of promotion to a lunar priest. Do you understand? And being from the church, you understand that lunar priests are, you are of a different sect of Saloon. You are more like the military branch of Saloon. The lunar priests are like the government branch of Saloon.
Okay.
And to be a lunar priest is a very high honor bestowed upon the faithful of Saloon. Something that you really never have studied for. And she looks you dead in the eye, and she says, that is the only way that we can ensure that the faith of Saloon lies in every step that you take. You must understand this. Tell me, are you worthy of this honor? And she looks at you with a genuine, not a rhetorical question, genuinely asking you.
I would like to think I am.
She says, I would like to believe so too. Everything that you have done in service to Saloon dictates you are indeed worthy of this honor. You have carried out Saloon's will faithfully and without question. You have prayed and done your duties to the best of your ability. But there is one thing that still questions your worthiness. Do you know what that is?
You didn't hear about what happened in the cave, did you?
What happened in the cave? What do you mean? She looks at you like she really doesn't know.
I fornicated with a werewolf, and it was green with big yellow teeth.
She kind of looks at you with like a. But
what is the matter with you?
You've said
face turns completely red, and he turns his head and snickers a little bit.
that is quite an injunction. Have you said your penance?
Yes, I repented on it, and but it helped us
in
a successful mission.
I understand. There are often times we are all people, and we are all prone to mistakes. None of us are perfect, and as long as you have said your penance for your injunction, you may be forgiven for that act. No, I refer to something else. She says, you see, every one of us priests who have devoted our lives to Saloon, we have lived our lives and made the choice to become part of the congregation to our Moon Maiden. We have cast our old lives behind us and taken upon a new life, life in the service of Saloon. The problem, Dorlak, is that in order to be able to cast away your old life and join the church, you must have had an old life. You were born and raised by the church. What do you know of your old life?
I know nothing of my old life.
Well, perhaps
other than I don't carry a surname for that reason.
Perhaps
that's why I'm just Dorlak.
Perhaps it is time you learned, for you cannot truly devote your life to Saloon unless you know who you are and who you were born as. And then she takes out an old book. You recognize this as a record book. And she flips around in the book and she starts reading from it. How old are you again? How old is Dorlak again?
Oh,
I forgot.
Let me look at my notes. 105.
Okay, she says, about a century ago, the church, about a century ago, an infant dwarf was left to the Church of Saloon. This she says, now normally an orphan of whatever race put under the care of Saloon would go to the standard orphanages, and when they came of age, they can grow up and live as they will. If they choose to serve Saloon, then they can. If they do not, then it is their life to live. However, this infant, on the other hand, was brought directly to the High Council of Saloon. He was raised under the direct tutelage of Saloon, and never really given a choice to live his life as otherwise. And she kind of looks at you, and you know she's talking about you.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this infant has grown up to become one of the most devout silver stars of Saloon, but this person never had the true choice to devote his will to Saloon. And without that true choice, without that true devotion, you cannot be worthy to be a Luna priest. And she says, this is why I must unseal the records kept upon your adoption. And she starts reading from the book, and she reads, about 100 years hence, the infant was left in the Church of Saloon, and the infant was left with an axe. This axe bore the emblem of a dwarven king. And she looks at you and she says, as you know, the emblematic axe of a dwarven king is one of the most prized possession of dwarven royalty. No self-respecting dwarf would allow this axe to be anywhere except with the royal family of the king. The axe is either to be buried upon the death of the king or given to the king's heirs. And she kind of looks at you intently, seeing that you understand.
Mm-hmm.
She says, that axe you hold is the heirloom axe of King Torlun Baldermane. He says he is a king of the third clan who once ruled a fortress high in the Reged Glacier in Mirabar, near Mirabar, a place called Stonekeep. And that was his axe. He said, and then she says, Torlun Baldermane did have a son by the name of Oric Baldermane. His wife, Lunada Baldermane, died in childbirth, giving birth to Oric. Soon after her demise, Torlun was stricken with grief, and he married another, a dwarven woman by the name of Charlotte. It turned out that Charlotte was not what she seemed. She was an agent of the dark cult of Shar. She betrayed Torlun Baldermane. She betrayed the entire clan of Baldermane. She allowed the cult of Shar to enter its walls, and they destroyed and slew every last one. Now, nothing is known of what happened to Torlun's son, Prince Auric. But when you were found as an infant and found with the axe laid before the steps of a church of Selûne, it was assumed that you are Auric Baldermane, and as a prince you are to be raised within church confounds and given the education and training of a knight. This is why you grew up differently than everyone else. She kind of looks at you intently to see that you understood everything she told you.
Mm-hmm.
Says,
I'm listening intently.
Now you must face who you are. You must go back to Stonekeep. There you will discover your true identity. And only when you truly know yourself can you truly choose to devote your life to Selûne as a Luna priest. She says, now before you go, there is a problem. You see, the Reged Glacier and the place where Stonekeep was constructed, the place is holy to the cursed cult of Shar. The Knights of Selûne, once we had discovered what had happened there, went to Stonekeep and destroyed the cultists. But when we did so, only a few years later, the cultists return, another cult of Shar. And we did this several times, and they kept returning. For you see, there is something about that place that is holy to those who worship Shar. And they will continue to return. Even as we speak now, there is another cult of Shar who occupies the place. But your job is not to go and fight them. There are hundreds there now. We are deciding when we should send the Silver Stars back to destroy the cult of Shar. Your job is to discover your own past. So you will go there, but you cannot fight these cultists of Shar. They will outnumber you, and there are too many. I am not equipping you to go there and conquer. I need you to go there and discover. We have been watching this cult for many years, and one day we will send our knights to clear it out, but we must discover what exactly they are doing there. That is not your mission. By most accounts, the entire clan was wiped out, and yet here you stand, holding the king's mighty weapon. What you must do is find the burial chambers of King Torlun Baldermane. He and his entire family were supposedly buried in the same place, and it is there that you must find yourself. And she says, when you reach the great mountain east of Raven Rock, you will see a path hidden to all except for those who are of dwarven descent. Follow the path that goes up the mountain, and I will have an agent meet you there by the name of Huric Emberforge. He was once a dwarf of the Baldermane clan, and he was outcast from the Baldermane clan before the place was destroyed. But he knows it well, and I trust him. He will show you how to get into the burial chambers. Do you understand?
Yes.
What was his name?
Huric Emberforge.
Timberforge.
Huric Emberforge.
Oh, got it.
There we go.
Okay.
So she marks off on the map where your ancient old dwarven stronghold used to be, now overrun by Shar cultists. And you fought the Shar cultists a lot, so you know about them. But your mission is not to go in and fight them. There's they number in the hundreds over there right now. So you are to sneak in and find the burial chambers.
Sounds good. I think we can handle this.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm wanting to go with you, my brother.
So here you go. There's the I've pointed to your destination right over there.
Up north?
Up north. It is actually on the
Okay.
edge of the Ragged Glacier.
Yeah, I see
on
it.
the other side of the Ragged Glacier is Icewind Dale.
Okay.
So you guys did a whole tour of the Sword Coast.
We kind of did, didn't we?
But you have one last quest before you are to continue on historiophage quests.
Okie dokie.
Well, I believe we've already bought everything we need to buy, so we can set out on this adventure as soon as daybreak.
The next day, you guys prepare yourselves, and you set out. You catch a caravan, which won't take very long. It only take a couple of days because it goes by a main road, and you're able to travel along. It's a kind of a contemplative journey because you start wondering about what had really happened there. And you start and for the first time in many years, you start wondering about your birth and where you came from, and the fate of the king, Torlun Bouldermane.
I just heard a werewolf.
Maybe that was you. Dreaming of your little tete-a-tete there.
Yeah, are you sure nobody got bitten? By these quests?
Once bitten, twice shy.
After a few days of a long march, you finally arrive, and you can see far off in the distance the snow-capped glacier of the Reged stands before you. And you look around, and you recognize there's the path splits into several different ways, but you can recognize that there's a small dwarven path along the eastern rock. So you follow the small dwarven path, and as you're following along, far off in the distance, a great castle ruin comes into view.
So, guys, you see that castle up there?
Yeah, you think that's Stonekeep. Because according to the directions that you were given, that's where it is.
That must be where I'm from. That must be my home.
The castle, you can see that one of some of its bastions are falling apart. Clearly, it lies in ruins. And you feel the taint of Shar somewhere around.
I can smell Shar in the air.
Well, I would say that we try to remain quiet and stealthy and head towards the keep and keeping a good eye out and a good ear out and see what we can see.
You head towards the keep, and as you get closer, you can smell campfire smoke. You see that there's kind of lights going on around the keep. Clearly, it's occupied. You see a lot of footsteps on the ground as well. But you're staying on the dwarven path, which is keeping you off in the bushes, so you don't see anybody directly.
Okay. I was gonna have Tiny, stealthily sneak up and see if she can see who she can see up there, and come back and tell us who it is.
All right. Tiny Marble Cakes will do that.
Tiny Marble Cake sneaks up stealthily along the side roads, and as you get closer to the keep, you can tell there are a whole bunch of people. They look haggard. They are wearing. There's no uniform. They're wearing haphazard kind of rags. Like none of them look like they're very. They all look like they're maybe like street thugs or something like that. They're all armed. They all have weapons. You can see that there are a couple of spellcasters among them. They're just kind of walking about, doing their business, and you can see that they've kind of built a small armory there, a kitchen there. Like they've really set up shop, like they live there. You can see that some of the bastions in the once majestic dwarven fortress, they've been defaced. There's marks and cryptic arcane symbols written on them. There's a symbol of Shar written in different places. It's been overrun.
So how far away are we from these campfires, and how far away are we from this stone keep?
You guys are like, maybe 500 feet or so. If you were to get closer, you get spotted.
Okay, and then what time of day is it?
It's like noontime.
It's noon.
Yeah, when you just Tiny comes back to us, and then we decide to.
Yeah, so Tiny, you see way too many people there to take on.
Now, if I cast Find Familiar, can I have the familiar be in whatever form I want it to be?
What it goes by the rules of the spell.
I was thinking it wouldn't be natural to see a owl out in the daytime.
It says you gain the service of a familiar, and it takes an animal form you choose.
Okay.
So if you were to recast it, you can make a more specific looking familiar.
Right. Well, I would like to go ahead and cast that and make a hawk. And I would like to use my hawk to scout all the way around the castle keep, looking for other groups of people and for maybe ways that we can sneak around the people.
Yeah, we need to look for that Harik Ember Forge.
So the hawk flies around. The hawk flies up and flies around this keep. It's a massive, big castle, and you can see that most of it is occupied. There's remnants of people there. Like parts of the castle has been repurposed into a hog, like a place to raise hogs. Like the people are really making a living. There's people growing crops there and stuff. So it seems like these people who have occupied the place have turned it into a little village. You notice that the castle has like a main kind of main quarters, and it's got a portcullis that is up. That main quarters, that main entrance of the castle is usually where the high nobility and the most important.
You're starting to break up.
Oh.
Quite a bit.
Yeah, that main part of the castle is usually where the high nobility, certain where a king would live. That part is sealed tight and has the portcullis up. The windows are boarded up, so you can't tell exactly what's going on inside that part of the castle. The outside of the castle has dozens of people kind of milling about. They all look like ne'er-do-wells. There's no children among them. They're men and women that just look like they're street ruffians.
But you said there's no children?
There's no children there.
So do we observe like any guard patrols or any particular activity that the people are up to?
There's well-armed guards at every entrance to this ruin. There are also patrols that are walking about.
Has the hawk spotted another dwarf that looks out of place?
Nope.
Like he's up to no good?
Nope.
So we need to stick to the bush and...
Yeah, you're not sure how you would sneak into this castle because it's there's a lot of people milling about. It's you don't think it'd be easy to sneak in there unseen.
Okay, so I was going to say the hawk will fly. I send a message for him to fly up high in the air to see if there's any other cabins or any other kind of residences that are anywhere in this area.
As the hawk is flying up there, one of the spellcaster types among those people points at the hawk and yells something out. He's too far away, and then a whole bunch of these people take a look, and they're now looking at you.
So I don't know how much I can control him, but I look around to see if there's any prey, and I would quickly swoop down on the prey and then kind of head into the forest towards the tree.
You see a contingent of well-armed guards and a spellcaster kind of branch out of this of the keep, and they're it looks like they're coming out to look up for the hawk. So it seems like you've tipped somebody off.
Okay, so I will banish the hawk for right now.
Do it in a subtle way, like have it.
I'll fly into a cloud bank and then banish the hawk.
Well, the hawk disappears, but it seems like you've gotten these people suspicious. They were able to detect that a familiar was flying up there.
Well, they must be on guard pretty well then. So that was my shot at it, guys. So now somebody else's turn.
All right. Anybody else want to try something different?
Yeah, we need to go toward the stone keep, but we need to go down on the very low part of the mountain where us dwarves would probably had some mining going on in that mountain, and there's probably an entrance in that mountain where we was mining some stuff, and go down in there so we can find a way in.
I think that's a very good idea. So you guys kind of stick real low, and you approach Stone Keep, trying not to be spotted. However, it appears that they now that the guards are very suspicious, one of the guards on the tower screams something out as you're trying to slink by. And you see, and once he screams something out, you hear some hustle and bustle inside, like there's a contingent coming out to look for you.
So does, kind of a question about Dorlak. Does he have like some kind of a stone special knowledge that maybe he could use it to help us find maybe a cave or something like that to, or a way in or a way into the mountain?
Not in particular. There's dwarven stone cutting, but that doesn't necessarily help you find a secret passage or anything, unless you're up against the stone and examining it. But unfortunately, even approaching this heavily guarded place has raised suspicions now that they don't know exactly where you are, but it seems like they're sending out patrols to look for you.
And somebody use their magic, mirror image, and mirror image our whole group going another direction, or is mirror image only the stationary?
Mirror image only applies to the person casting it.
Okay.
There are illusion spells.
Illusion.
Yeah, minor illusion can only create one thing. There are more powerful illusion spells that can do stuff like that, but I'm not sure you guys have them.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, if we just leave like an illusion somewhere and they check it out, we'll be like really.
Can we see where any of these are any of these groups that are going out, or are they getting close to us?
They're not. They don't know where you are, so they're kind of making the rounds. They're just picking and combing over all the bushes. But if you stayed still, eventually they'll find you. They don't know where you are exactly right now.
Well,
but the guard on the guard tower saw some motion in the bushes. It looks like, and he's called out a patrol. These guys are really, really kind of on edge.
I'm going to ask Tiny if he could cast a minor illusion of a hawk eating a mouse up in one of the trees that's far away from us.
All right, she'll do that.
What you do that if you do that in a way that catches the attention of these patrols, one of the patrols goes up to it, and of course, with the minute they see the hawk, they run up to that tree over there. They start firing bows at it, and of course, one of the bows goes right through it, and then that increases the alarm even further.
We gotta find a place to hide, guys.
Yeah, that's what I guess.
Right now, the second patrol is coming straight towards you.
We gotta keep moving.
Because they know that illusion has to be cast within a certain distance. And they know if that was an illusion, they're going to find you. You're going to be within that distance. So one of the other patrols starts combing the area.
Before we go on, so they shot the bird with arrows and stuff like that.
Yeah, the arrow went straight through the bird, so obviously they.
All right, can I give it the illusion of the bird like dropping dead or something because the arrow went right through and out the other end?
Sure.
They know you're fake.
Sure, you create the illusion that the bird drops dead and falls off the tree. They go up to inspect the bird, and their hand goes right through the bird. All right, so. If you don't move within a minute, the patrol's going to be right on top of you. This is one patrol. Looks like maybe 7 or 8 people. However, the minute that patrol finds you, the other patrol's going to know you're there, and then who knows how many patrols are going to come out.
So we need to make haste, like to the east, and find a cave or something to hide in, or somewhere to hide.
So right before that patrol reaches you, you hear something in the bushes. Psst, hey, what are you doing, you idiots? You alerted the whole camp. Get over here.
I guess you're hurry.
And from the bushes, you see the bushes actually start moving. And then you realize that this is a dwarf. He has like trees and plants and stuff embedded in his hair. He's perfectly camouflaged in the bushes. Only he opens his eyes, and that's the only way you know he's there. He's, follow me.
The dwarven ghillie suit.
So the dwarf in the ghillie suit kind of motions you over. He's like, you alerted the whole camp.
Well, sometimes we just ain't right.
So
you could have alerted us a little sooner.
He says you walked right down. You walked right down the road and you got spotted 3 times. Oh, come on! We need to hide until dark. Come on, follow me.
Okay.
So you guys follow the dwarf in the ghillie suit. Just as the patrol was about to come right on your location. But when they come to your location, they find evidence that there's footprints and stuff like that, and you hear people screaming, there's people here. He says, we need to find them. Comb this whole place. As you guys are just hurrying away. And the dwarf in the ghillie suit kind of leads you to a serpentine path through the bushes, actually away from Stonekeep, all the way until he gets you to the edge of the mountain. On the edge of the mountain, there's a rock, and he taps the rock a couple of times and realizes there's some sort of mechanism behind the rock, and the boulder just spins away, revealing a hidden cave behind. and you guys follow him into the hidden cave. And once you get inside the cave, he pulls a lever, and then the boulder spins back. And you can see he's almost breathless. And you notice as he does this, the dwarf is actually limping. He's got a pretty bad limp. As he kind of takes off his little ghillie suit, and he looks at each of you, and then he spends a while looking at you, Dorlak. He kind of looks you up and down, and there's a kind of a familiar look to him. You can't put your finger on it. It's like you've seen him before. Just kind of looks you up and down. He says, So you be the dwarf named Dorlak, hey?
Yeah.
You don't talk like us.
I was raised with, humans are, so I kind of take on the lingo of a human.
I suspect that's to be expected. You're a bit shorter than I thought you'd be, and you can tell, you're kind of a little bit taller than he is. He kind of sits there and he starts touching you, measuring you. It's a little uncomfortable. And while he's doing this, he's walking around and looking at you up and down, and he's limping.
I see you have a limp there. Can you let my friend take a look at you and see if you can heal it?
This can't be healed. You see, I was an adventurer like yourselves until I took an arrow to the knee. Now, have a seat, have a seat. We got nowhere to go. Until nighttime. You ain't going in there with that place being on high alert like that. So he sits down and he lights a fire, and there's a little hole on the top of the mountain. He's like, "Don't worry, the wind currents from Icewind Dale blow the smoke the other way. They'll never see it." And there's Herrick. He sits down, and you can tell he's a fairly old dwarf. He's got scars all over his hands, all over his body. He's seen a lot of combat. But his leg is you see his leg is pretty badly injured. Not injured, just kind of crippled, because it's just an old injury. You can also see that there's huge scars all over his face. One of his eyes is kind of looks like it might be blinded, possibly from battle. He's got old slipshod armor on, different pieces of armor. He's got a well-kept beard, and there's some graying inside the beard, indicating that this is a fairly old dwarf. He's seen a lot, kind of world-weary looking, and he sits down, and he offers each of you some food and ale. It's like, So you returned to your home, eh, Dorlak? He's sitting there. He's talking to you without really looking at you. What do you expect to find here?
Came in search of the burial chamber of the king.
Torlun Buldemain was a good king, truly honorable king. It was a shame what happened.
Can you tell me what all happened?
He says, "Well, we got plenty of time. I can. It was 110 years hence. About your age, aye. You see, Torlun, he was a proud man. Wanted a son. His wife had given him many daughters, but never a son, until finally she bore him a son, and he was so happy. But during that birth, it was a horrible tragedy. She couldn't survive it. The child was born, and something was wrong with it. It was as if it's too large for her body. And in that birth, she lost too much blood. We tried to heal her. We cast all the spells we could, but it seemed that she had lost her will to live. Her soul did not return to her body. And he kind of, Hurik looks at you kind of with like these really tragically sad eyes. I ne'er saw anything like it in my life. When this happened, Torlun, he lost it. He was stricken with grief. He wouldn't eat. He wouldn't rule. He wouldn't tell us how to live our lives. He wouldn't do his kingly duties. He was so sad and spent all day at her grave, just speechless, staring at it. He even ignored his young son, Orik. He says, but then, it seems out of nowhere, that vixen, Charlotte, appeared. We nay even know what family she is from, but it appeared that she just joined the king's court. She cozied up to the king, that succubus. And for a while we thought that Torlun was coming too. He seemed happy. He married her within 1 month of the death of his wife Lanuda. 'Twas strange indeed. And then, a month after that, Torlun still was obsessed with Charlotte. He refused to rule. He did nothing but dote upon her, spending every waking moment with her. And it was then that we discovered that she was into some occult practices. We heard demonic screams in the night coming from the castle. But me, I was just a Fletcher. I was a mere worker. I was the one who heard it. I heard prayers to the dark goddess Shar, coming from the castle itself, in the voice of Charlith. I went in to warn King Torlun, to scream the treachery. But Torlun, he was a changed man, almost insane. He looked at me with eyes that I didn't recognize, and he told me that I am to be banished for my treachery against the Queen Charlith. And so I left. I lived amongst the hills. And then one night I heard an explosion, and I came to see what was what. And the entire castle was burning in a magical flame. The grounds of the castle were full of dark fighters in purple robes, Shar's robes. And Dorlak, you recognize that the cultists of Shar do wear these purple robes with Shar's insignia on it. This is consistent with how Shar operates. They slew every man, babe, and woman in sight. I ran in to be with my king and to fight to the last, but when I got inside, I saw young Prince Orik. Alone, defenseless. I knew my life couldn't end there. So I picked up Prince Orik, and I took him out. And I took the king's weapon, that axe you hold there. And I took them to the only place where Shah would never find them, the Church of Seilun. And then Hurik looks at you, Dorlak, in the eyes. So now you know. You don't need to go back there. You can go back and know who ye are. And he kind of looks at you, just nodding. So yeah. he's telling you he's the one who rescued you when you were young, and you're Prince Orik, and he brought you and the weapon because the weapon is yours by birthright since Torlun was killed. He brought you and the weapon to the Church of Salion, and he's saying you don't need to go to the burial chambers. And after he finishes his story, he goes back to warming his hands on the fire.
But just knowing my birthright without actually going to the burials, is that going to be enough to convince the priestess that I'm ready to move on?
Well, it may not be any more business, but she did say you had to go to find the burial.
That's your call.
chamber.
This is where I present the choices,
Right.
and you make the choice. You certainly can take him for his word and just go back to the priestess and say, "I know who I am."
I need to go to the burial chambers because I'm hoping I can find some more of these rune stones that goes into my back.
Oh, more power. Yes, I'm sure there may be more runes for that axe in there.
Because I need to avenge his name.
But say, Dorlak, if ye wish, when the commotion dies down there, right now you got the whole cult excited. They be on alert for weeks. But when the commotion dies down, I can perhaps sneak in there and look for these runes for you.
Can I use insight to see if I think he's being totally up and up?
Sure.
Whoops.
Huric offers to go find the runes. You don't think he's lying. You don't see any kind of maleficence from him.
Okay. I'll just keep my mouth shut.
But he is saying something that seems kind of strange. He's saying you don't need to go to the burial chambers.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of...
He says, listen, if you go in there and you don't do it carefully and you alert the guards, it'd be the end of ye. I don't know how strong ye are. You look pretty fit as a dwarf. But certainly you can't take on 156 cultists at a time. Come on.
So there's 156 at a time?
I've been here for centuries. I've been counting. This is my home too. Although I am no longer of the Bouldermain clan, I was banished. This will always be my home and my heart. So, he's saying that you are the only survivor because he is no longer of the Bold. He was banished from the Bouldermain clan when Torlun didn't believe.
Was mad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He says, I am afraid that if you are a prince, there's no more birthright to claim here but that axe. One day, perhaps another clan will come back and rebuild. But the Bouldermains, we are no more.
As long as there's one Bouldermain still alive, then we are the Bouldermains.
Perhaps what you say is true. And you see this horribly sad look in his eyes as he goes back to warm his hands on the fire. He says, if you truly are determined to go to the burial chambers, I can show you how. But I'm telling you, you'll find nothing there but death.
Well, you might be a little gimped up. My buddy can fix you. You care to fight one more time?
He says, I cannot fight anymore. You see him, he goes over, he says, may I, to your axe. Mm-hmm. And you can see when he lifts it, he cannot, his arm and his shoulder are so badly damaged and crippled, he can no longer wield it. You see, that night, when I rescued you, and I brought you out of here, the wounds that I sustained were too much and too many. No manner of magic can fix this. Except a wish spell, but nobody knows a wish spell. Or regeneration? I don't know. I'm too old anyways. Fighting is no longer for me. I just scout and I report. The church still has...
Show us the way.
He says, the church still has use for me. It is only I who keep an eye on the cult of Shar. Hence.
What have they been up to lately?
They've been doing their summoning rituals, trying to commune with demons, though I haven't seen any demons. So they must not be successful.